Did you know that your business website and email address are probably one of the leading factors that's getting you denied for credit financing? I know it's hard to believe, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today's training. We're going to talk about several things, including secret credit bureaus that lenders are using to make all kinds of decisions about you, information you probably have no idea that these credit bureaus actually have about you, how lenders and credit issuers are using that information to deny your application or charge you higher interest than you should be charged, and what you can do with this mess to clean it all up, fix it, and give yourself the absolute best chance of getting approved for the most money at the best terms for your business. We got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. So again, today what I want to teach you is how to better qualify for two things: business credit, business loans, and credit lines. How to get business financing and business credit easier. And in order to do this, you have to understand fundability. You have to understand that there's a secret criteria that lenders and credit issuers are looking at to determine if you should be approved for credit financing, how much you should get, and the rates and terms that you should pay. If you get fundability right, you radically, like 80% increase in chance you have of being able to get approved for credit financing. So we talk about business credit. We're talking about building a credit profile and score for your business, where your business can rely on itself and its own history of paying its bills can be used to determine approval. So you don't need personal guarantees. You don't need credit checks. And Mike comes in and says, "Good afternoon, Ty. Thanks to you and Credit Suite are seriously amazing. I love seeing my fellow veterans killing in business." Thanks, Mike. And thanks again for your service. I appreciate everything you do. So there's a lot of benefits with business credit building. Again, you're able to get credit without a personal guarantee. You're able to get credit without a personal credit check. You can get this even when you can't get other kind of financing. It's something that every business owner is able to get. So when we talk about improving these things today, it's not just to get business credit and financing, but again, being able to build business credit is definitely one of the components. Now, when we talk about fundability, we're basically talking about your ability to get business credit and financing. Okay, these are factors you can easily control that lenders and credit issuers are looking at to basically improve your chances of getting approved for financing your credit, being able to get more money, and being able to get that money at better terms. It all comes here. As a matter of fact, it's estimated that over 80% of applications for credit financing that are denied because you messed this thing up, something you could easily fix. It's not because you don't qualify. So just by improving fundability, you radically increase your chances of being able to get approved. So the better your business credit and fundability are, the more likely you are to get approved for loans and credit lines when you want to get them. Well, just because you build business credit doesn't mean you're automatically going to qualify for loans or credit lines, but it does mean, without a doubt, that you significantly increase your chances of getting approved, of getting more money, and getting that money at better terms just by building business credit, by improving your fundability. So today we're going to talk about online presence. We're going to talk about where lenders and credit issuers are finding all this information about your business and your online presence, what they're looking for, and what to address to be able to help you improve your fundability, chances of getting approved for more money at better terms. So the lenders check information through a variety of different sources, many of which they're not going to tell you about. And by knowing how the system works behind the scenes, by pulling back the curtains and seeing what lenders and credit issuers see, that it helps you get the information you need to actually get approved and get away from getting denied. Okay, so LexisNexis is one of these sources that lenders and credit issuers readily use. And there's a lot of information that LexisNexis has about you that you probably don't even realize they have. They offer information regarding your likelihood to pay or not, and lenders compare their information against what's on your loan application. So first of all, we're used to credit reports reflecting our ability to pay our bills. That's it, right? Credit reports on the consumer side, a credit score depicts your risk of going 90 days late over the next 2 years. In the business side, your credit scores depict your risk of going 90 days late over the next 12 months. So either way, consumer or commercial credit scores are designed to tell a lender your likelihood to pay. That's what they're looking for. LexisNexis is way different though. LexisNexis is being used for two main reasons. First of all, to depict your risk of paying them back or not, like we're used to with credit bureaus. But it's also being used to look at historical information about you that consumer credit reports just don't have. Matter of fact, LexisNexis has information that you think has been well gone from your history that nobody has because it's no longer on your consumer credit reports. This is why lenders and credit issuers use it. In all fairness, it's also why insurance providers use it. It's why the government uses it. It's why law enforcement uses it. because it has a lot of historical information that you don't even begin to realize that other people have about you and can easily access. So it connects all your information. So for example, it has your criminal records, every speeding ticket you've ever had, traffic violations, every kind of offense you've ever had is on there. If you're a sex offender, it's on there. Any time you've ever been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony, even if it's been plead out, it's still on your actual LexisNexis credit report. So let me give you an idea of how this can haunt you. I don't consider myself to be a criminal, so this is a pretty good first-hand account of the problems that could arise. When we went to get an SBA loan, they asked us typical questions of, have you ever been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony, of which I responded no. I'm a pretty straight shooter, right? Some crazy days in my 20s, but none of that since. Well, I was surprised when the lender came back and said, why would you lie and give us incorrect information? You have been convicted of multiple misdemeanors, of which I said, I don't remember. I had to literally pull a background check on myself to realize that back when I was 20 years old, 21 years old, I had a couple traffic violations that had to do with like reckless driving. It was like a motorcycle and wheelie and trying to impress a female police officer. Whole story behind that. It was awesome at the time. But now here I am 30 plus years later, and it's coming back, well, not 30, 20 something plus years later, and it's actually coming back and preventing me from getting an SBA loan. So again, this is what LexisNexis does. It's giving lenders information that I don't even remember, that I have to pull a personal background check on myself to even recall. Then I have to write a letter of explanation, including why I lied to them about it. I didn't lie. I didn't even remember this. So it just goes to show why historical information 10, 20, 30 years in the past can come back to haunt you when it comes to LexisNexis. Now, they also have every email address you've ever had, every phone number that you've ever had, every address that you've ever lived at, the actual building materials of your home, the homeowners association of the home, the title company you use to actually close the deal, the terms of the mortgages that you've had, the interest rates you've paid. All of this information is on your LexisNexis credit report. So they can tell, for example, based on the terms you got on previous mortgages, how good or bad your personal credit was at the actual time. They can look at every criminal record you've ever had, every license that you've ever had issued, every license that you've ever had revoked in your entire life. All of that's on there as well. Every license that you've ever been issued, such as pilot license, such as mortgage license, the revoking of those licenses. As I said, all of that information is on there as well, including every business you've ever been associated with. So I used to own a consumer credit business. That came back again and again and again and created issues with this business decades later when trying to get, bank accounts set up, loans, etc. Till I knew this was coming from LexisNexis and was able to go dispute and remove the email associated with the credit company and the credit company linkage in my LexisNexis showing it was a business I was associated with. I had all kinds of issues. But now knowing that it comes from LexisNexis, how it's being used has given me the ability to go in and fix that information. Speeding tickets as well. So let me give you another example here. I had a car payment that's due like normal months, right? COVID hits, they give me a few months where I don't have to pay. I waive that. And then I'm like, why would I not take advantage of that? I'm going to not pay payments for 3 months if I don't have to. I went ahead and took advantage of the deal, but they shut off my auto pay and didn't turn on my auto pay. I didn't think about it. They called me 31 days later and told me I was late. I knew it was going to show my credit report, even though they said it wasn't, and it did. No big deal. I'm a credit guy. I immediately fixed it with the bureaus and thought all was good. Then I go to get an insurance policy. They deny me for the insurance policy for jewelry. Really weird. Come to find out in talking to the underwriter, tip here, whenever this happens, get to an actual underwriter to speak to them. And if they put you with the front-end rep, as they always will, then completely confuse the front-end rep with terminology that only an underwriter would understand, and then request again to be speaking to an underwriter, and they will direct you. And the underwriter told me it was because of this late payment on an auto loan, which wasn't even legitimate. I had a letter from Ally saying it was not right that I'd already used to fix the consumer credit reports. But since I didn't fix LexisNexis, it came back to haunt me and would forever unless it was actually fixed with LexisNexis. So I can go on and on and on, but the most important thing to know is that when it comes to LexisNexis, you have to make sure that you know this credit report exists. You have to get a copy of the credit report. You have to see what's on there and know that lenders and credit issuers are using this to answer all kinds of info or get all kinds of information about you. And Mike says, so true. I saw an email I was using way back in 2000 in the Navy. LexisNexis is on a whole other level. They are. And what's scary scary about these guys is that they keep the information on there indefinitely. So let me give you an example. Bankruptcies, judgments. You think they fall off your consumer credit report in 10 years? They do. They're still on LexisNexis. So again, you think that you're walking through life with lenders and credit issuers not seeing that you had that stuff because it was 10 years old. But the reality is it will live forever on LexisNexis unless you actually address it and get it removed, which again, another example of this, went to get the SBA loan and they wanted to guarantee my house. They wanted to use my house as collateral. Now, that doesn't make any sense because we have account receivables, an asset we could pledge as collateral that was 3 times the amount of the actual loan amount that we were trying to get. We found that judgments on my LexisNexis credit report were scaring them. We cleared that up with the actual lender, and I was able to go dispute with LexisNexis and get all the judgments removed so they never created an issue again in the past. Look, I have struggled in the past to get merchant accounts approved, to get bank accounts approved, to get loans, credit lines, and credit cards. And then what I figured out was that these guys, LexisNexis, is where it all comes from. It's where lenders and credit issuers are getting all of this data from. When I realized that, got my LexisNexis and started to clean it up, every issue I ever had went away. Not every issue in life, but the merchant account issues, the bank account issues, getting approved for credit cards, loans, credit cards, it all went away once I figured out they were getting it from this place, getting the report and disputing and fixing the information and cleaning up LexisNexis. This is something you seriously need to focus on because this is where a lot of the information is coming from, including every mortgages you've ever had, as we talked about, a lot of other information that's even beyond what we've discussed. Over 300 pages is how big my LexisNexis credit report is. It's like a book. You need to get this. You need to clean it up. A lot of the stuff they're getting about you, email addresses, etc., are all coming from these records. Now, Joe says, how do I get access to my LexisNexis report? How much does it cost? It's free to get LexisNexis. And all you have to do is just go Google free LexisNexis credit report, and you go right to LexisNexis credit report website. Now, what I have found, okay, is let me just say, get my LexisNexis credit report. Okay, now what I have found is that they've made it easier. It used to be a form you had to fill out online. Now you can actually come in and get it at no cost by filling out a form online instead of printing a form. So I've typed in get my LexisNexis credit report. I go to consumer.risk.lexisnexis.com, request a consumer report. I see right here we are, electronic request form. I can fill out a simple form here, and that simple form will then give me my access to my LexisNexis credit report. They'll mail it to you. Typically, you get it in 30 days or less. And to answer the second part of your question, Joe, it's free. Cost you $0 to be able to get this baby, and you really should, okay? So make sure that you go and follow that step to get a copy of your LexisNexis credit report. Now, one place where lenders and bidders will look for your business is online as well. And so you've got to specifically make sure that you manage this online presence. It's your website. It's your social media channels. It's also have to do with complaints online. They're going to get an idea, just like a consumer would, of how you run your business based on these online listings that they're finding. So what happens if your family member or friend built your website? What's that look like, right? Okay, many business websites differ. We're literally talking about building a new website. We're estimating the cost at nearly $100,000. So because of this scary number, a lot of business owners stop getting a really good website built. But I'm going to show you and talk to you today about how to easily do this on a budget. Okay, but your business needs a website. It needs to be easy to navigate. It needs to have exactly what you do on it. It needs to provide a clear idea of the products and services you offer, possibly even have your pricing on there as well. Okay, so styles are going to differ, but again, you need to include some basic stuff, contact page, about us page, information about what you do, the products and services that you offer. Now, you need to own your own domain. You need to go to a place like GoDaddy. There's plenty of other places out there. I recommend GoDaddy because they're phenomenal and their customer service is phenomenal. I've used them for decades. I would never get domain or hosting from anybody else than GoDaddy. Even if it's cheaper, I don't care. They're phenomenal. That's why I use them. You can use anybody you want, but it's who I recommend. You got to stay away from websites where you don't own the domain. Wex, for example, your website might be wex.com/credit suite. I don't want that. I need to own my own domain. I need to own my own hosting. And this is another warning for you of hiring website companies that want to do the hosting for you. Never let them do it. Because if that owner ever sells the business, or you ever want to leave them as a provider and go get another website on another domain, it's really hard sometimes to do so. It's one of the biggest complaints I see people have is that they have somebody that builds their website handle their hosting, and then all kinds of issues arise when they try to move that hosting away from that company or person. So my recommendation is handle your own hosting. GoDaddy can easily do it for you. It's very cheap, okay? And own your own domain. You know, you don't want to have it parked at a place like Wix where you don't own, or WordPress where you don't actually own the domain, the name. They actually do. It creates all kinds of problems for you as well. Now, your email address, it needs to be the same as your domain. My email, info@creditsuite.com. My website, creditsuite.com. They're the same. You need to do the same. You need to stay away from AOL and Gmail type email addresses as your business email address. Matter of fact, GoDaddy gives you your free email address as well when you get the domain. So if I get creditsuite.com, they give me like so many emails that I can then use for the creditsuite.com domain. Again, I talk a lot about GoDaddy because they have some of the best customer service of any company I've ever used in my life, which is why I like them. And they really solve a lot of these problems: email, website, hosting, all in one. Now, again, you don't want to be able to have an AOL type Gmail, and you need to have maybe a specific email to you, okay? And you want to have a general email like sales at or info at, those type of things as well. Now, with a general email address, if someone leaves your employee, another employee can seamlessly take over that email address, like info@creditsuite.com. So that's why we make that our main email address, because even if 3 of our salespeople left tomorrow, that email address doesn't have to be changed online. It's still the exact same thing. So if you hire somebody to handle your sales and his name is Mike, you don't want to go everywhere online and put that your email address is mike@creditsuite.com, because if Mike ever leaves, you got a problem there. And if Jay starts responding to the mike@creditsuite.com email, it just looks weird. So any emails you put online, you want to make sure that they're a general email, sales at, info at, whatever it may be. That way, if somebody leaves your company, you never need to change that email address. You only change whoever's answering that email address. You've got to make sure that all your records are consistent. Think about it. Lenders and credit issuers are plagued by fraud. One of the ways that they look to check and see if what you're telling them is fraudulent or real is they just simply take your application and they compare it to other sources that they have information about you. LexisNexis, Secretary of State record, Small Business Financial Exchange that has all the records that you've ever submitted to a bank. So if you ever submitted an application to a bank, then again, what happens is you want to make sure that you know the other banks have it. So if one bank's trying to check your records against another, you need to make sure the information is congruent. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I called every one of my credit card companies and asked for a credit limit increase. This is something you should be doing too. I do it every 6 months, okay? And in doing so, one raised my limit by 25%. Another raised my limit by 30%. The other 2, I did not let them even look at it because they told me that they had to have hard inquiries to do so. So I'm going off on a little side note here, but I think you can benefit from this information. So first lesson here. Every 6 months, you need to call your credit card issuers and ask them to raise your limits. When they do so, you need to listen to hear if they're telling you that they're going to do a credit check. Now, I used to advise, tell them you're not authorizing a credit check. Now, you don't have to. Just sit back and listen. They're going to give you disclosures. And the disclosure is going to be like, hey, your income is needed, and it's a calculation of all these things. And hey, we're going to put an inquiry on your credit report. And I stop them and I say, no, you're not. You have enough information with my processing history with you, and you're a bank. You can put a soft inquiry on my credit report, but I do not want to proceed with the application if you're telling me a hard inquiry is involved. They confirmed there's hard inquiries. I confirmed no go, not interested in applying. Why is that? Multiple reasons. First of all, if I have a $8,000 limit credit card and I go to ask for a limit increase, very possible that they raise my limit from $8,000 to $10,000. It's very practical that that could happen. But if I have an $8,000 limit credit card and I go to apply for a whole other brand new credit card, chances are if my credit's good, they're going to mimic my approval based on what I already have. So if I already have an $8,000 limit approval, the new credit card company is probably going to give me 8, 9, or 10. So I'd rather use my inquiry to get 8, 9, or 10,000 from a new source than get a $2,000 bump in my limit from another source, right? One gives me 4 to 5 times more credit. So inquiries are always better used to get new credit than a credit limit increase, because you'll almost always get more money from a new source than asking an existing source to raise your limits. So just some advice. Now, here's the reason I'm giving you this story as an example. When I applied for those credit card increases, I made sure that my income was exactly the same for every source I told them, right? Sometimes we sit there and say, okay, my income's $50,000 a year, and then you get denied or they don't limit. And you're like, I'm going to fix this by telling the new guy I make $60,000 a year, right? You don't want to do that, because what you don't know is I'm talking to US Bank, I'm talking to American Express, I'm talking to Chase, I'm talking to Citi. They all connect with each other and they all have access to each other's information. So if Citi sees I just applied with Chase and told them my income was $50,000 and I'm telling Chase 60, it throws off a red alert because the information is incongruent. So you've got to make sure all of your stuff is congruent. Yellow pages, Secretary of State, website, social media channels, anywhere your business information is listed, it needs to all be the same on all online records and all offline records. What's offline? Think about it. Bank statements, utility statements, right? We got to think about your bank account. Actually, I already said bank account. You've got to make sure that your licenses, anywhere your business information is listed, it's all got to be congruent, because lenders are pulling up your application and looking all these places to see if it's all congruent. If it's all the same, they verify your addresses and business is legit. But if they go to your website and the address is different than your Secretary of State, which is different than your application, and your social media channels have a different phone number and a different email address, then they can't even put together that they're talking about the same company. They're trying to research your company and they can't even verify that what they're finding is actually the same company, because all of the information is different. This is the numero uno, number one reason applications for credit and financing get denied. Number one, they think the application is fraud because what you're putting on the application doesn't match up everywhere else they're going to verify. LexisNexis, Small Business Financial Exchange, your website, your social media channels, the IRS, the Secretary of State. And when it's all incongruent, the bank says, we can't even verify this company is legit, because everything we're finding reflects that it could be a different company other than the one applying. So those are some important reasons why you've got to make sure that your records are congruent. Otherwise, it's oftentimes seen as fraud. So everywhere you have an online presence, your website, Yelp, Bing, Yahoo, Yellow Pages, your review sites like SoTellUs, etc., your IRS records, your Secretary of State records, the actual credit bureaus themselves, your licenses, your incorporation documents, all that stuff has to exactly be the same, or it will oftentimes get you denied, okay? No other questions coming in, so we're going to move on. Now, if you're getting value, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the love button. It's the only thing I ask you during this training, and I ask you that because when you do that, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, then show this to more people, and then it helps me help more people, and that's my mission, is to be able to help as many entrepreneurs get capital as I possibly can, and I appreciate you helping me accomplish that mission by just simply liking and loving this, only if you're getting value and this is helping you. So you want to make sure that you also keep your business fundable by having that professional website and email, getting a toll-free phone number as well, listing your phone number with 411, getting a business address and staying away from PO boxes, UPS addresses, and home addresses as well, getting any necessary licenses that you need to run your business, some other things that can help you with fundability. Now, there are some aspects of fundability where you should pay particular attention to what's going on online. The business owner's listed and listed ownership. You've got to make sure that's uniform as well. Sometimes you remove people from your business and you don't actually come in and update that with your actual business records. So you've got to make sure that you do that. You got to make sure your name and address are uniform, that your industry is the same everywhere online. If you don't know what your industry is, you need to figure that out. You can go to NAICS.com. That's NAICS.com to determine what industry you're in and make sure that you're listing that information everywhere that it asks for your industry. You want to make sure your company domain is give me 1 second. Got to turn something on real quick. Okay. My fault. It gets kind of hot in here with all these lights and stuff on, so I had to make sure the AC was on. Your company domain and any information anywhere else about your business, but especially name, address, phone number, and ownership information all needs to be the same. Record consistency matters here too when it comes to business owner listings. Your website should show who owns your business. Okay, and that information needs to be consistent with Secretary of State. It needs to be consistent with when you're applying as well. Okay, so if the owner's named Susan Johnson on your website's about page, then she can't be listed as Sue Johnson on the contact us page, and then be listed as, Sue Johnson or something different variant on the application. It all needs to be congruent. That's what they're looking for, is this congruence. Now, abbreviations can really cause an issue as well. So when it comes to setting up a domain, you want to stay away from abbreviations, stay away from numbers in your name, stay away from dashes. I got some dude that sells domains trying to sell me credit.coach.com. I'm like, I don't want it. It's got hyphens, dashes in it. I don't want any of that stuff. It's too hard to explain, and it doesn't make me look credible, okay? So again, if you even look at Toys R Us, right? Toys R Us has that little italic in it. ToysRUs.com was ToysRUs.com. Okay, so it didn't have that in there. So even if you have symbols in your name, you want to try to make sure that your domain doesn't have those symbols, hyphens, commas, etc. as well. Now, if your business moves, then you need to make sure that you update the address as well. My best advice to you here is to be able to set up a virtual address. Okay, that's what we do. We have a virtual address in the heart of Tampa. No matter what new addresses we start with, we remove, our address is always the same because it's a virtual address in Tampa. You need to do exactly the same thing. It's why I recommend virtual addresses. You can have one address, and that address be the same everywhere. Even if you move, even if you're working from home, even if you move locations 5 times, you still have the address be the same. That's one of the nice things about virtual addresses. Now, industry alignment. If your business is over-the-road trucking, then it needs to be listed that way. Okay, so pro tip, when your industry can be called several different names like long distance trucking, then mention those other phrases on your website as well so other people don't get confused. Okay, you need to, again, make sure you understand what industry you're in and use that on all applications for credit and financing so there's never any confusion. You need to make sure that when your company domain matches your business name. Okay, look, I thought about this when Google became Alphabet. I thought, whoever owns alphabet.com is going to be very rich, right? Because I don't even know. I'm going to look that up right now, as a matter of fact. Actually, somebody else looked that up and type in the chat and let me know. Alphabet.com, is that owned by Google? Does that go to Google? I'm not even going to look it up. I'm going to have somebody look it up and tell me here if alphabet.com is owned by Google. Because when Google announced they were becoming Alphabet, I'm like, alphabet.com is rich, whoever owns that domain. Because Google will pay a lot of money to own the actual domain that is their company name, as you should. Because it goes a long way towards credibility. Never have a business name that you don't own the domain for. You lose a lot of credibility if that's the case. Okay, now good websites can help you get funding and prospective customers as well. While websites differ, there are some things they all need. Easy to use navigation, speed. Speed is very important. Okay, being able to get to your site and open up pages quickly is very important to your customers. It's also very important that's used for anybody who's using your website to vet credibility as well. You need to have an intuitive organization, so it needs to be organized in a way that makes sense as well. Your website also needs to have branding. Your branding needs to be consistent on your website as it is in your social media channels, everywhere else. I'm still shocked that I can go to somebody's website and it says what they do. Then you go to their Facebook and it says something different. Then you go to their Twitter and it says something completely different. It's not hard to make sure that all of your stuff says exactly the same thing. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well. Visual design. Ugly websites are, don't give you as much credibility as one that's easy on the eyes. And you want to have search engine optimization done. Even if you don't hire a company, you do it yourself. But you need to make sure certain things are there, like whatever the main tags are that people could use to identify your website. I'm not an SEO guy. I don't know off the top of my head. But again, those are some of the things. You got to make sure that it has basic SEO so somebody can easily be able to find your actual website as well. And one of the more vital items of your website is content. Okay, you can add a blog, but again, what needs to happen is your website needs to really have information that reflect what you do. And the more information you can put there, even for lenders or credit issuers to better understand what you do, the better. So something like a blog or something that's dedicated to just delivering valuable content not only helps your SEO, not only helps you be seen by more people, but goes a long way to help you become credible as well. And Mike says, speaking of virtual addresses, I know Alliance is your favorite, but what makes it a company better than another? Well, there's 3 main companies out there. There's DaVinci, there's Regis, and there's Alliance. And we've tried all 3 of them. And what we found is that Alliance has the best customer service. They have the best results when it comes to what kind of services they're offering and the price of those services. So they give the most affordable or best deal for your actual money there as well. And we've just found good success. Our clients tend to have a little better success applying for credit using Alliance virtual addresses than they did with Regis or DaVinci. We used to use Regis all the time until we started testing Alliance and DaVinci and found that Alliance just get us way better results. So that being the case. Now, I am very disappointed in all of you because nobody here did a search on alphabet.com to see if that's owned by Google. But let's look and see if it is. I'm still interested to know. Oh, I figured it out if it was or not, but I'm not going to tell you. Since nobody did the research, you're going to have to look and see. Okay, but you should look and see if alphabet.com is owned by Google. Okay, so let's recap here. So more fundable businesses get more money. Look at the bottom line. Okay, I've been in lending for 20 plus years, 2+ decades, and I can tell you that it's not just about getting approved. It's getting approved for the most money at the best terms. And I talked to somebody about this. I was speaking to a big mastermind group of $10 million to $100 million business owners. And one of them came to me after. He says, I think I really screwed up because I went in and I applied for these credit cards and I didn't contact you. I didn't go through the process of making sure that they didn't have a personal guarantee. They were linked to my business. He goes, but I did get approved. I said, great. You know, how much you get approved for? And he's like, 25,000. I said, let me ask you a question. How do you know that you couldn't have got 50 grand if you would have done the right things? He goes, yeah, I didn't know that. I go, that's the problem. I said, is that you can apply for credit and get approved and think you're good. But if you don't know that it reports to the business credit reporting agencies or the consumer, if you don't know that you got the rate that you wanted or a better rate, or that you could have got more money, that means you're doing it wrong. By doing these things right, you know you can get approved for the most money at the best terms. And it's very important because you don't want to get a line of credit with a 12% interest rate when you could have had 6. You don't want to get a loan for 2-year payback term when you could have got 4-year payback term. You don't want to get denied versus getting approved, but it all comes down to fundability. If you do this right, you radically increase your chances of getting approved for more money at better terms. So if you get value here, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the love button, subscribe, and you'll get more notices when we go live in the future. Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, we go live, 11 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday. We also have daily tips on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can access all those at the top right of our page, creditsuite.com. Hundreds of videos on YouTube that will teach you all aspects of fundability. You can access YouTube at the top right of our page. And we have 2 podcasts. We have a podcast specifically for influencers. All we do is go find top influencers and interview them about what they did to become top influencers so you can learn from them. Okay, we also have another podcast hosted by me, 500,000 downloads, the Business Credit and Financing Show. Half of it's this kind of training. You can listen on the go. The other half is the only time that I don't just talk about money. I talk about how to actually build successful business from scratch. I have all kinds of experts that come on to teach you how to succeed as a startup, how to market your business, how to scale a business, how to handle the financial aspects of your business, how to handle your money on the personal side so you end up wealthy in the end, how to exit your business for maximum value. All that happens only in one place on our podcast, and you can access our podcast and all the other social links at the top right of our page, creditsuite.com. Okay, Mike says CSE Corporate Domains Inc. That's all I saw. It says, yep, it owns it. So again, that's not even owned by Alphabet. I got to figure that. That must still be under negotiation. AB and Fuel Cards gave me $2,000. Jojo, congratulations on that. And Joe says, would also work if I pay a friend a few bucks a month and that already has a reputable established office space. You can definitely do that. You absolutely can. There's no problem with sharing of office space unless you have similar names. I'd avoid that. But if their name's different than your name, then you won't have to worry about your credit profiles becoming commingled. Okay. And JoJo says they report to DMB. Awesome. AB and Fuel Cards gave Joe $2,000 credit card limit, and they report to DMB. So he's building business credit with a $2,000 GAF card. Congratulations. And Andre says, good stuff, bro. Andre, I love you, man. It's good seeing you. We got to get together and catch up sometime. I might be seeing you somewhere out in the world with Derek. I think I might end up in Dubai with you guys, and I might actually see you in Costa Rica next week. I think you're headed down there, so hopefully I'll get a chance to run into you. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Don't forget, you are entitled to a free consultation with us. If you give us a call, we will do 3 things. We will do a fundability assessment to see what's wrong with fundability, help you improve it. We will get your business credit reports with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax Experian for free. They will cost you nothing with us, $250 with them. We will go over those with you and again give you tips and tactics to improve. And we'll do a funding assessment to tell you all the funding you can qualify for right now It all happens on a free consultation. All you have to do to get that consultation is give us a call, 877-600-2487, 877-600-2487, info@creditsuite.com. That's info@creditsuite.com. Or you can schedule your consult online at creditsuite.com/consult. That's creditsuite.com/consult. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on our next training where we talk about more cool ways to get money to start and grow your business. Have a great day.